Yes. My people, una good afternoon. Good afternoon. So today we are starting with a quote. We are starting with a quote from Ogbetti about Obaze. And this is his quote. He said, "The worst of force is ruling or governing over the best of us." I repeat, he said the worst of us is ruling / governing over the best of us. Okay? So this is my theory. This is my theory that Abatobaze heard this quote from Pedro Obaseki. So I put Pedro Obaseki in the same pedestal. Okay, I put Pedro Obaseki in the same pedestal as Reverend Olumatins. Okay, Reverend Olumatins. So I categorized themselves. I put both of them in the same pedestal. Now, I still think what make Abatobaze the Ogbetti think is one of the best of us, because I don't know. You have to prove that to me. I think Abatobaze is a stark illiterate. You see, I'm very happy that I went through my university education in Europe, not in Nigeria. Because in Nigeria, we misunderstand education. When we say someone is educated, we misunderstand it. Okay, in Nigeria, our interpretation of someone is educated is because he can speak English or because he has a certificate. You understand? That is the interpretation of someone is educated in Nigeria. But in the Western world that I live in, education means knowledgeable. Okay? In the Western world that we live, in America and Europe, or the education means knowledgeable. Someone that is knowledgeable about something. I'll give you an example. People like PBD, Patrick Bet-David. Okay? People like Dan Locke. People like Gary V. Gary V don't have a certificate. Gary V can't even speak English. But they have over 20 million followers. Okay? Why are people following them? Why do people listen to them? Because what they are saying, people benefit from it. People get value from what they are saying. Okay, these three people I mentioned, they have wrote books. They don't have degrees. But they have wrote books. People like us have bought their books. What makes them educated? Because they are knowledgeable. They know what they are talking about. Okay, they know what they are talking about. They are knowledgeable. They know what they are talking about. So we don't equate education to certificate or English. We equate education to what comes out of your mouth. Are you knowledgeable? Okay, so when how about saying the worst of us is governing the best of us? Why I even say the guy is a stark illiterate? Because sometimes I watch a paranomigo analyzing his video. Okay, anytime a paranomigo is analyzing his video, it's always making mistake. A paranomigo have to be correcting him. Okay, and Paramiligo said most of his followers, they are gullible followers, most of them have what they call pamphlet certificate. Now, that the worst of us is governing the best of us. Where did Albert hear that? I said it's from Pedro. Where did Pedro hear that word? Like I said, this is my theory. Pedro heard it from Plato. Okay? Pedro heard it from Plato. So let me quote Plato. Let's listen to what Plato said. Where's Plato, please? Plato said, one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferior. One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferior. So people like Plato, people like them Aristotle, these people came from what we call ancient Greek. Ancient Greek. During this time, what you see, you have to understand something. For example, what is democracy? You have to understand the background of democracy. You have to, first of all, understand the etymology of the word democracy, and you have to understand why was democracy created, who created it, who invented it. Okay, it's not just enough to defend democracy. Democracy is the rule of the people by the people. Why was it invented? But people like Plato, people like Aristotle, when they invented it, they wanted to checkmate, be governed by the kings and so-called queens. Because in ancient Greek, those kings and queens, even in Rome, they believe that they are God sent to govern us. So that's why people like Plato come up with something like our inferior is governing our inferior is governing participating in politics, that we end up being governed by our inferior, which is the same thing with Obaze and Pedro are saying we end up being governed by the worst of us. But democracy does not specify that it must be the intelligent people that will govern. No, that's not what democracy said. Democracy was an avenue where ancient Democrats were trying to checkmate the kings and the queens that was ruling us then. In Europe, they call it feudalism. Okay, they come up with the idea. So first of all, you have to understand, in fact, the word for democracy in Greek is called demokrata. Demokrata. It's a system, it's a way to checkmate the kings and the queens that was ruling Europe, where people like Plato, people like Aristotle believe that they don't have the knowledge to govern. Okay, that's ancient. So let's listen to a quote from Thomas Jefferson. Okay, what is democracy? Let's listen to a quote from Thomas Jefferson. Where's a Thomas Jefferson quote? Thomas Jefferson said, a democracy is nothing more than mob rule. Underline that word. A democracy is nothing more than a mob rule. Democracy is nothing more than a mob rule, where 51% of the people may take away the right of the other 49%. Democracy. So if someone like Abatobase have read books, I mean, Thomas Jefferson is not a speaker. It's not good. It's not an orator, but it's a great essayist. It's a great writer. You understand? Or Plato, or them resources. So if someone like Abatobase that called himself a politician, have studied all these great men, you could have understand that democracy is a mob rule. Mob ruling in Edo State is nothing new. It's nothing new. It's part of democracy. But the fight of the ancient Democrats was to make sure that the intellect govern. So let me give you an example what I mean by the intellect, the educated people. The intellectualism is a quote from a guy called, it's an economist, a black economist called Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell said, rich nation is not based on what you have under your soil. So Africa is rich, Africa is rich, Africa has a mineral. He said, no. This is an economist, Thomas Sowell, is from America. He said, rich nation is not based on what you have under your soil. He says, rich nation is based on what you have between your ears, your mind. So rich nation is based on what you have in your mind. It's not what you have within your soil like Africa. No. And he went further to give example with Switzerland. He said Switzerland have no natural resources. All they have is human intelligence. Let me quote the mafia manager. I have the mafia manager here. Because the mafia manager said something. The mafia manager said, never expect logic and reason to govern human affairs. Never expect logic and reason to govern human affairs. Listen to that. Logic and reason to govern human affairs. Albert Einstein said human stupidity is infinite. What are they trying to say? I hear my brother say, my brother wounded civilian will say, why will you call black people? Why will you call black people animals? We are all animals, bro. We are all animals, bro. But Proto said, he said there's nothing you can find in a pig or a horse that we don't have in human. Nothing you can find in a pig or a horse that is not a human. In fact, pig have 2 stomachs. One that can digest different food. So we are animals. What makes us different from animals is our developed mind. It's our minds develop. That's where reading comes in. Wounded civilians say, forget about book. This is common sense. You're supposed to know now. No, bro. I have 3 degrees. I still read. I should have, in fact, I'm qualified for a PhD in any university, whether it's Oxford or Harvard. I'm qualified for a PhD because according to Brian Tracy, to qualify for a PhD in any university in the world, including Covenant in Nigeria, to qualify for a PhD, including Unibe, to qualify for a PhD, is after you have read 30 books. Okay, after you have read 30 books and few handouts, you automatically qualify for a PhD. All you need to do is to write a thesis. Okay, I've read over 300 books, thousands of articles specified on 4 areas: personal development, business, management, leadership, financial literacy. Okay, I've read over 300 books on this, so I'm qualified to even be a PhD holder. So let's come back to this Albert Obase. Albert Obase, you have the opportunity to be in government. Did you employ the best of us? Did you source like the best of us? No. You empower your brothers. You empower your relation. You empower people that are favorable to you. You empower people that are ready to lick your ass. Those are the people you empower. You understand? So, whatever you are saying today is the same thing. People, because you are crying, because you are not in the opportunity to make decisions again. That's why you are crying like a little baby. Like Wounded Civilian said, he said you are going to cry for the next 16 years. And let me assure you, this crying may last for our lifetime because we don't know when the mobs, for example, in Edo State, are going to leave us. Let me go back to about human weight. According to Thomas Sowell, weight is based between this your ear. So let me use 2 people to give examples so that you will understand what I mean by weight is based here. It's not what you have under your soil. Number 1, Governor Obaseki. Obaseki went to Lagos in the early 90s, set up a company. Today, a company worth billions of naira, hundreds or millions of naira, if not billions. People like Aswe Igodalo, a young man left, a commercial lawyer, left school. Today, is a board of director, a young man that started. So weight is based here between your ears. It's not what you have under your soil. I'm quoting an economist now. I don't just talk. That's why I always say that I wouldn't civilian. You quote. You don't just make an assumption from your head. So let's go back to Albert. Albert, there's never a time where the worst of us didn't rule the best of us. There was never a time where the inferior didn't rule us. But what democracy tries to do is to checkmate them. So people like Thomas Jefferson, when they study democracy, Thomas Jefferson is a thinker, is a philosopher. It's just like Jesus. He's a thinker, he's a writer, and he comes to the conclusion that democracy is nothing but a mob rule. It's right. Adolf Hitler came in as a mob. I don't even think Adolf Hitler have a certificate. Mussolini came in as a mob. Mussolini, the when you say 1 million march, 1 million march they did in America by MLK, Martin Luther King. Mussolini have done it in Italy before to try to strip power from, give the kings and queens that time, give them demand in order to take over power from them. So these are mob rule. Donald Trump is mob rule. According to an economist from America himself, said Donald Trump never attend class one day. So Donald Trump is mob too. You see, when he lost the election, all his mob invaded the White House, scatter everything. So when Thomas Jefferson said democracy is nothing but a mob rule, it's true. But we can change that. We can change that with a collective power of all of us. Only Abbott cannot change it. That is why I was trying to, because as Abbott destroyed the image of Obaseki, destroy everybody that go close to Obaseki. Number one, he's not knowledgeable. He's not educated. I expose him. Every day, a paranomigo expose him all the time. Anytime a paranomigo is analyzing his video, he exposes his lack of education. And I'm talking to Nigerians now. Please, your perception about education has to change. It's not about I speak good English. It's not about I get certificate. It's all about, are you knowledgeable? Do you know what you are talking about? I have to get that clear. Okay? So democracy is always, according to Thomas Jefferson, the founding father of America, America is one of the best democracy we still have in the world, even though Donald Trump is there. He said it's nothing more than a mob rule. So someone like me, I'm not surprised to have people like a Boston, Ogbetti ruling us today. I'm not surprised. It's a mob rule. That's what it means. Now let me quickly touch on this so that we understand the three cycle of government. Okay, the three cycle. This was an article that was written in Irish Times. Irish Times is the best newspaper we have in Republic of Ireland, the Irish Times. So the article was written by, I think, a philosopher teacher in one of the best university in Ireland. I think the second best university, UCD. So he wrote this article from a Greek philosopher that we can only be governed in three ways. Okay, there's only three ways style of government. One is king. Okay, king. The time our Oba of Benin was ruling. King, Morocco. Morocco is an example of king. Kingdom. Okay. Two, we have what they call the oligarchs. Okay, the oligarchs. Russia is an example where a group of friends come together and rule. Russia is an example. China is an example. Then the third is democracy. So under oligarchs, you can call it socialist. You can call it communist. Okay, under it, if you go into details into oligarchs, king says everything. Like example, Morocco. Then democracy is the third one we have. Okay, so according to that philosopher, it is a circle. This is the only three government that exists. I'm talking about thousands of years that was written by a Greek philosopher. This is the only, still today, this is the only government that exists. So for example, in Nigeria, in Edo State, we are losing our democracy. The man that told us one man, one vote, which is Osomole, has automatically become the king of Edo State today. He does not practice what he said. He is not doing democracy in Edo State. He is doing kingship. That's what Oshomole, whether you like it or not, whether you agree or you don't agree, Oshomole, as far as Edo State is concerned, is the new king of Edo State. Even Ogbetti was being quoted saying that Oshomole is our father, is our king in Edo State. So we have gone back to kingship. It's a circle. So from king to oligarchs, where friends come together and rule. Like what is going on now with Kenneth Okonkwo, Erofai, Atiku, Obi. So that is oligarchs in Russia, in China. Then we have king. So that's the only three circle of government. And it's a circle. It's a circle. That is always round. That's all we know. And that's all we know now. We don't know any part of. In China, they say they have what they call hybrid communist. Okay, we talk about that some of that day. So in summary, I've used this video to expose that Ogbetti Abatobaze claim he's a politician. He claims he's educated, but he doesn't even understand what he's saying. Okay, he doesn't even understand what is a democracy. Because if you understand democracy, according to Thomas Jefferson, it's a mob rule. It's a mob rule. Okay? If we have mob ruling in Edo State now, it's not unusual. It's what have happened before in history. It's not new. Okay, this continue banging the worst of us is ruling. This is what is being obtainable among humans. That is why the mafia manager said, don't expect reason or logic to govern humans' affair. Don't expect reason or logic to govern human affair. Albert Einstein said human stupidity is infinite. Okay? When humans are born, we are just like animals. We think like them. We think with our emotion. Africa thinks with our emotion. They don't think with their mind. Their mind is not fully developed. I'm saying it for people like Ogbetti to see. Their mind is not fully developed. Because if their mind is fully developed, I see no reason why Africa cannot be like Singapore, Asia. I see no reason why Africa cannot be like Europe. I see why Africa cannot be like America. You are just putting everything government. No, go and develop your mind. People like Ogbetti, that is a public figure. I expect people like that to encourage education so that we can develop our mind. It's only when all our mind are developed that Africa will rise. It's not one government that will rise. Forget the resources. According to Thomas Sowell, those resources you have under your feet does not make a country rich. What make a country rich is your mind. Is your mind fully developed? Like people that live in Switzerland, those are rich. Richness is in your mind, not under the soil. So that is it, folks. My name is Victor Vince. I'm a life coach, a business coach, a financial literacy teacher. I'm also an executive life coach, another word for leadership coach, another word for leadership teaching. Thanks for watching, and do have a productive day.